the end of the day, you need to make decisions that make you feel good and that are in harmony with your highest goals and your very best self.
Well, look, man, I'm such a fan of your work. There's not a lot of people that put so much heartfelt practice into everything that they produce when they write books or when they're speaking, when they're doing their press tours. And you've had a lot of amazing success. You've worked with a lot of amazing, artists, entertainers, educators, and entrepreneurs, like everything. One of the things that I wanted to start off with is actually one of your former works, which is, basically how to create choreography around your career. Because I find a lot of people are missing out, if you will, living a life or living out a career that they don't really love. So talk to me a little bit about choreography.
Well, first of all, Stephen, the concept is that anyone can attain their goals if they figure out the logical set of steps which will put the percentages in their favor that they will attain their goals and live their dreams. The key is to figure out those steps.
Yeah.
So I have been a career choreographer for the last 33 years with my company. I trademarked the term, and I really believe it. I've worked with thousands of individuals who started at a particular place, whether it was a plateau or whether it was a downtime in their career, and helped them figure out the steps, the choices that put the percentages in their favor to help them get to where they want to go.
Now, have you found that there's common denominators that kind of keep people in that plateau stage before they kind of live out and kind of enjoy a career that really is just meaningful to them?
Absolutely. It's a great question. There are two things that I find many people do. One, or don't do, they don't know what they really want in their lives. We're so busy these days and we're attention impaired. We don't take time to figure out what we really want in our lives. I talk about it in career choreography as figuring out what makes your heart sing or what you do really well, because those are things that will help you find the right job, the right career. Yeah. The second thing is that you don't ever want to make choices when your best judgment is enveloped by toxic emotions, by fear, by anger, by sadness, by loneliness, by neediness, because you oftentimes opt for the quick fix. You want to feel good for the moment, but many times the quick fix decision is counter to or counterproductive to attaining the golden dream, because you're not disciplined. You don't say, you know what, I'd love to do this, but you know what, sometimes you got to do things you don't want to do to get to do the things you really want to do.
I can say amen to all that. I've lived out both making some of my worst decisions in my life or ones that I made when I was tired, hungry, or aggravated.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Right. I mean, decisions that have cost me financial resources, emotional resources, and relational resources on a regular basis. That makes a lot of sense. I am curious, when we're starting to kind of look at this environment of trying to discover more about who we are, trying to discover more about why we're here, why we're, what we're really supposed to do about it. I don't know, but if you discovered something similar to that, I felt like I have, which is this: most of the people that I see that are struggling with this mentality are doing so because they are trying to live out somebody else's life or live out somebody else's expectations. Have you run into that as well?
Oh my goodness, absolutely. And in fact, in my new book, Aspire Higher, I have a whole section about how expectations, others' expectations, can not only drag you down, but put you on a path that is not your path.
Yeah.
You have to make, and I know you believe this, Stephen, you have to make choices that reflect your highest goals, that reflect the person you want to be. Because if you're living somebody else's life, you're fulfilling other people's expectations, one day you're going to wake up and you're going to be bitter and disappointed and angry because it's not your life that you're living.
Yeah.
So as much as you may want your parents' approval, your partner's approval, your teacher's approval, your employer's approval, at the end of the day, you need to make decisions that make you feel good and that are in harmony with your highest goals and your very best self.
Yeah. No, I love that. No, I love that. And in fact, I'm actually really looking forward to digging in deep to Aspire Higher big time. I find that one of the things that set me on my course to ultimately transform my life and then later businesses and now fortunately people like you do, one of the things that has always been there is a new discovery of a new aspiration. I'll find somebody that I identify with, for a number of years, I was acquainted with Dave Ramsey and Sharon Ramsey, and I aspired to be like Dave. I aspired to be on a stage, empowering people, teaching people, writing books and all kinds of stuff. And then once I was able to do that, then I aspired to be more of a life mastery agent. What does it take to really, truly understand what it is that you're aspiring to be? And are there different levels of aspiration along the way, or is it one and done?
Well, there are so many parts to that question. As I said earlier, I think it's so important to take quiet time and get in touch with what you really want, what you really aspire to do, and the person you aspire to be. Because if you do things that you're proud of, if you help others, as I know you do, it makes you feel great. Mm-hmm. And when you feel good about yourself, and when you make choices that elevate your life, you feel like you're worthy of better things in your life because you see you can affect positive change in your life. And when you feel good about who you are, you feel good about the way you conduct your business and your life. Not only do you develop high self-esteem and feelings of high self-worth, but at some point you develop self-love. Oh, and if you love yourself and you treasure your life and your well-being, you're going to continue to make really positive choices for your life because you feel like you deserve those choices, you deserve those results, and you're worthy of them. And when your heart begins to feel full with love for yourself and your life, you're far more likely to extend love to others. And in fact, I read your background, Stephen, and I know you are a huge proponent of paying the good fortune that you have, the love that you have unto others.
Yeah.
No, so that's really important. Choices are incredibly important. They are.
No, it's so true. Yeah, it's so true. Well, the interesting thing for me is, and I'll kind of maybe piggyback on the self-worth side. It wasn't until that I had a baseline set of personal value, meaning personal value in myself, that I was able to begin to show grace and mercy and empowerment to other people. Like it took a long time for me to understand that I had worth, regardless of my pedigree, regardless of how much money I had, regardless of what relationships I had. Like, let's talk a little bit more about the self-worth thing. Cause I feel like if you're truly trying to aspire higher on a regular basis, self-worth thing is going to be something that's going to be really important to kind of conquer, or at least to work through in order to get to self-love. Are there any stages that kind of take you through the self-worth phases towards self-love that you come up with?
Well, I love the title of your podcast, Stuck to Unstoppable. And many people are stuck right now with COVID, with all of the things that are going on. There's no question. A lot of people are demoralized with, inflation, with crime, with racism, with global warming. We are stuck and we need a way up. We need a way out. And as also you said, it's great to have gurus, but you need a guide. Yeah. And to me, the guide is the path, or the choreography is, you've got to start from wherever you are and start making small, positive life choices. See that you can affect positive change in your life, but start small, because you don't want to be overwhelmed, because trying to change your life all in one day or all in 1 week is way too daunting for anybody. Yeah, sure start small, whatever it is. Stay on your diet, eat healthy, exercise every day, be kind to somebody, feel good about the choices. And once you get your victories, you start to feel confident and masterful that you can affect positive change through your choices. Mm-hmm. And, there have been many, or at least some people in the self-help area that say, feel happy, be happy, and then everything will be great. Well, I totally disagree with that in one area. It's great to feel happy and be happy, But when something cuts us to the core, when something really bad happens, when we're hurt or feel resentful, we fall like a house of cards if we don't have the right foundation. And I believe the right foundation is, as you said, having feelings of high self-worth, of high self-esteem, because then you won't fall like a house of cards because you feel again like you're worth it and you're worth figuring out how to make a more constructive choice. So my path is, since I am the founder of Positive Life Choice Psychology, Stephen, is that if you can start making small positive life choice, more positive life choices, secure those victories, get that confidence, know that you can elevate your life, you can start to really put your life on a great track. And you start to develop feelings of self-worth because you know that you can do good things for yourself and you know you can elevate your life. And it's really interesting, just to finish up, that confidence of being able to, of being knowledgeable that you can make life choices. I remember when Tiger Woods was in his heyday playing a very important tournament, and he was going into the final round and he was down by 5 strokes going into the final round. He came back and won the tournament by a stroke. And when he finished, the commentator came up to him and said, "Tiger, how did you have the mindset to just come back from 5 strokes and win?" And he succinctly and confidently said, "I knew I could do it because I've done it before." And if you know you can make great life choices by being disciplined, by caring about other people, about taking their considerations and needs into account, if you can make great life choices, then you have that confidence that you can continue to do it over and over again. And that's where I believe we develop, a good amount of self-worth.
No, I think that's great and perfect. In fact, and I'm thinking about, overcoming my suicide attempt, overcoming my homelessness, overcoming all this stuff. I got out of there by just being grateful for being able to breathe the next day. Then it turned into, okay, I was able to get steady employment for this one day. Then that turned into all of a sudden now I'm being recognized in my work environment. All of a sudden now I'm having an opportunity to start a business. It really does build like a snowball, I guess, going uphill. I'm not sure if maybe it's more of a roller coaster where you get to go to click all the way up. No, I think that's amazing. One of the questions I've enjoyed asking authors recently, because there's been a lot of great works of art like yours, like Aspire Higher and a bunch of others that have come out recently that are truly like just really, they're more than just books. They're roadmaps. They're roadmaps for hope. They're roadmaps for strategy. One of the questions I've been asking recently of all of my favorite authors is, what called you to write this book in this day and time, in this moment in time, when you have already so many successful works in front of you?
Well, there are 2 parts to that question. I'll take the second part first. I was watching the news, and I represent newscasters and hosts. That's my other profession.
Yeah.
But so I'm an avid watcher of news, and every night I would see all of these horrible things happening, whether it's the war or COVID or all of that. And I kept hearing that we need more love, especially with all the, the racist stuff and all the lootings and the shootings. Every day we hear about new shootings and violence. So everybody was saying we need love. We need civility. We need mutual respect. Well, I agree with that, but nobody came up with the formula to help get that. And my formula was, if you make life choices one by one, get the confidence, you develop self-esteem, self-worth, self-love. And if you love yourself, you're then going to extend love to others. And there will be mutual respect. There will be civility. There will be all of those, there'll be kindness. And that's the formula to get us there. And the other part of it is, Stephen, when I was younger, I mistakenly intuited that my dad didn't love me because my mom was always home with me as a stay-at-home mom. My dad, who didn't have an education and had to work so hard to provide for us and grow, was working 6 days a week and many nights so that I could have the education he never had.
Yeah.
But as a youngster at 3 and 4, I didn't understand that.
Yeah.
So I thought, mom's always here. She must love me. My dad's never here, so he must not love me.
Yeah.
It was only later that I understood that he was working so hard to give me the life that he never had.
Yeah.
But the problem was that I felt rejected. I didn't feel like I had his approval. So I would binge eat. And I was, what my mom says was, I was an obese kid. And I just couldn't stop because every time I felt rejected by my dad because he was never there, I would binge eat. Because
it's like a
I had
comfort mechanism.
Yes. I had this deep reservoir of feeling unlovable and all of those negative feelings. I eventually bonded with my dad through athletics. I lost the weight. I started to develop feelings of self-esteem and confidence through my athletics. And it was a way for us to bond. My dad had more time to spend with me, and the feelings of unlovability were replaced by feelings of being loved. So it was my way out. Yeah. But the thing is, when I was going through my troubled times, I had a mom who saw the best in me. I had a sociology teacher, Mr. Morrison, in high school, who believed in me and thought I had tremendous potential in that area. And I had a tennis coach who never thought I would lose, and I never lost for him. And I felt safe to take risks and all of those things. So my mission in turn, Stephen, is to see what can be in others and help them to make the choices, take the steps to fulfill their potential. Yeah. I love seeing what can be in people. As I said, giving them the formula to help be the best they can be and be the wind beneath their wings.
Yeah, no, that's beautiful and so true. I mean, I am where I am today because certain people took a chance on me. I say they took a chance. They saw something in me that I didn't see in myself. And yes, there's been lots of turns and twists and turns and ups and downs and all kinds of stuff. But one thing has remained the same. And I know we share this. We just want to give back to the people who were before us. You know, I've always said that, you know, the greatest purpose in life you'll ever have is serving the person you used to be. Right. It's, you know, I served Stephen at 30 and 19 and 21 and 6 and 9 and 18. And it's so good that kindred spirits like us that, you know, that can share that love and light with other people on a consistent basis. I just think it's amazing.
Stephen, you made one other point that I think is so important for everyone. And that is people's lives, their careers don't have a straight ascension. There are ups and downs. And it's so important to know that there are going to be times when unexpected things happen, life detours happen. And I know the cliche, it's not what happens to you, but what you make of it. And that's true. It's totally true. I agree with that. But it's also important to keep your poise and your calm through all of that. It's one of the things I learned on the athletic field. Yeah. I was an established and accomplished tennis player. And the one thing about playing tennis is that if you're having a bad day, you have nobody to substitute in for you.
That's so true.
Just to say, put Tommy in there because, you're just not cutting it. It's the survival of the fitter, hopefully more talented, more creative, more adaptable individual. Yeah. And it really taught me that, sure, I'm gonna get behind. Things aren't going to go the way I thought they would go or hoped. But that doesn't matter. We have to adapt. We have to grow. We have to learn and evolve through a match and through our lives. So don't get thrown by the ebbs and flows of life or your career because they're going to happen.
Well, and the crazy part was, if you think about it, most everybody in the world loves an underdog story. Yes. They like to see people win at the end of a struggle, and all transformations, all escalations, all of that happens at the end of some kind of struggle. It seems like to me. I wanted to circle back really fast back on the parenting construct that you just mentioned, because I thought it reminded me of something that happened yesterday. So most of my children are basically adults now. I got my youngest is 20 and he just got married to a wonderful young lady. They've been dating for 5 years since they were in middle school and high school. So that was
congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. It was beautiful. And it just so happens that particular son is working with one of in the thought leadership business where my daughter works in one of my other businesses in the accounting office. Well, in this particular case, he knew that I'd had a particularly stressful day yesterday. And so he walks into my office and he's like just trying to check on me. And of course, I'm in the middle of an Excel spreadsheet and, trying to look at P&Ls and all kinds of stuff. And he quickly realized that I was underwhelmed or overwhelmed a little bit. Not, I was in the middle of something. He said, I just wanted to let you know I love you. And I was just checking on you. Last night, I've made a conscious effort because I want to be the kind of father that's deeply connected in my children. And I know I have a propensity by accident to accidentally outwork myself to where, they're kind of in the outskirts rather than up close. So I go home and I'm spending some time just kind of finishing my day, in my day with some meditation, just because, yes, like I said, yesterday was particularly stressful. And lo and behold, it dawned on me. He's like, I'm going to go grab my son. I'm going to sit him down on the couch. I'm going to let him talk to me the way he intended to talk to me when he walked in my office. Okay. And I wanted to mention that as a story because I think you brought it up in a very beautiful way that, hey, look, this has an impact as a parent. Like the greatest person that we should be pouring into is those around us more than anyone else, like our spouses, our children, et cetera. And then I also wanted to give everybody permission to say, hey, I didn't do it right today. Let's try again tomorrow kind of thing.
Right.
Right.
Well, yes. And not only that, but, feel good about this. You have a son that's loving enough, emotionally intelligent enough, and intuitive enough to come in to say, in essence, I love you. I hope your day's getting better. Yeah. Or I hope it goes better. And that's a reflection of you.
Yeah, no, that's beautiful. No, I love it. And I'm very grateful. I'm very grateful that I have the children I have. As any loving parent, I think would be, we were having a live event not too terribly long ago, and Evan Carmichael's turned into be a pretty good friend. And Evan, Justin, who's my son, was in the chat window. It's his job to do the chat because we had a hybrid event. We had about, a few hundred folks that we had kind of like planned to have in the auditorium and several, all over, the walls and, the big, you've seen Tony Robbins' space. Our space is like a lot like Tony's. And, Evan had been chirping with him for a little while and he gets out, he basically gets done with that. And Evan refuses to go on stage for his keynote portion unless my son comes on stage as part of a panel discussion first. And all you see the whole time my son's talking is just me just wiping my eyes. Well,
oh, it's so great.
Like it's soaking in somehow. I don't know how it's doing it, but it's soaking in there somehow.
Oh, it's so great. Well, I can relate. We have 20-year-old twins, boy-girl twins. So, they are the loves of my wife's and my life. So I totally get it.
Well, that's awesome. Well, let's kind of stay on the children thing for just a second, if you're okay with it. Yes. How are you teaching your own children to aspire higher?
Well, I think the most important thing in some ways is being the model. And that is, it's not so much, of course it is what you say because children hear everything, but it's what you do. And I learned so much from my dad just watching him, or so much from my mom just watching them. So it's obviously saying the right things, but also doing the right things in front of them because they will model you. And and as you said, if you make a mistake, admit it, because I don't think kids should think that parents are infallible. Yeah. Because it makes them feel, I think, insecure if they can't be as good as their parents. Yeah. They have to know that we're human as well. And I think that's a really intimate moment when you say to your child, I could have done this better. And let me tell you how I could have done it better. Because then they, in their reasoning processes, say, if I'm faced with this situation, this stimulus, here's how I'll do it. But maybe it's a little different than my dad's or my mom's because there's an added component. So I think the more you talk to your child, the more you explain things to them, they can understand how things work, as opposed to saying, no, that's bad. Yeah, that's good. They need to understand why. And I think that's so important.
No, that's so good. I love it. I love talking to you. You're fun. We could talk.
I knew we'd get along because, as I said, I read your background and I felt that we were in total sync.
Oh man, I appreciate that. Well, I am curious, with so many of us chasing, I feel like we're chasing / striving, not necessarily knowing we're chasing and striving for authenticity. how does one truly discover what they're truly aspiring higher? What's how like the authentic higher for them? Because, we might say it's great to be a great entrepreneur. And they're like, don't feel like I want to be an entrepreneur. It's great to be a great tennis player. Well, I want to play basketball. Like, how do we determine the higher that means something to us?
Well, it all sort of goes back to some of the things, Stephen, that we've already been talking about. First of all, one, it really is important to take quiet time to think about what you really want, but not just once, because our values change as we get older, as we have experiences. So we have to continue to mine those nuggets of gold. It's like a heart monitor. Heart monitor continues to tell you how the heart's doing. It monitors changes. Well, like a heart monitor, I believe you have to monitor changes in your value system, because what you wanted, 5 years ago, you may well not want today. And with COVID, so many things have changed. I see with my clients, everybody talks about the big resignation, but the concept really is a lot of people want more balance in their lives. They want to be home more. They want to be around family more. I think our values have changed. So one, I think it's really important to know what it is that makes your heart sing, and know what it is that you really, what will make you feel good about yourself and the way you conduct your life, your value system.
Yeah.
As we talked about earlier, it's your choices. They're your values, not your parents, not your teachers, not your spouses. You have to be true to yourself. I think it was Shakespeare said, "To thine own self be true." I think that's really important. So I think those are the kinds of things. And as I said, not only know what your values are, but continue to assess whether those values continue to be the ones that drive you, or whether, I've thought about it. You know what? I don't want to be the head of my company.
Yeah.
I'd rather work for a nonprofit and work on the side now that I've made all this money. So your values change. I know my values have changed a great deal as I've gotten older, and I've had different experiences and have reached certain plateaus.
Yeah. Me as well. I've had the same exact thing happen. When I first got going, it was all about getting safe and secure. Then it was like, maybe it'd be cool if I could go out and make money. Then it was like, okay, I've made some money. I bought the stuff I'm supposed to buy to make me happy. I'm not happy. What do I do now?
Right.
And then I discovered along the way that I enjoyed helping people. And when I helped other people light themselves up, I just got a little spark in myself, and it continued that snowball, which brings me to my next question, which is it okay to start where you are without having a roadmap in front of you? Or do you have to have a roadmap in front of you before you get started?
Well, I think that it helps if you know what you'd love to at some point accomplish, but that can be very daunting. If you're, in a downtime in your life, you go, "Oh my God, how the heck am I ever going to accomplish that?" So I think you take baby steps, as we talked about earlier, and those are start making little steps, baby steps, to sort of help you climb the ladder of helping to get you to where you want to go. Because none of us, or very few of us, start here and all of a sudden, with one move or one choice, all of a sudden get to the top. There are so many rungs to that ladder, and there's so many detours because, as I said, your values change, or your opportunities present, different options. So, all of us have situations where things were presented to us that we couldn't ever foresee happening, that opened doors for us. For me, I represent, as I said, newscasters. When I met Lester Holt, or when I had the opportunity to represent Mario Lopez, or the people I represent, some of these things I never thought would happen. I couldn't foresee that, but they changed my life. Because when you start to represent people that people know, other newscasters, other hosts want to go with you because, if you've done that for Lester Holt, if you've done that for Mario Lopez, do it for me. So, I don't think you can really chart a course that's ironclad. I think you need to be flexible, but I think you need to take baby step, so that you don't feel overwhelmed. That's so important. It's like my wife says, cinch by the inch.
Cinch by the inch. I dig that. That's awesome. Well, I think one of the things you just reminded me of is efforts compound, right? You have today's effort. And as long as it's an honest effort, an authentic effort, it compounds and becomes 2, then 2 becomes 4, and 4 becomes 8, 8 becomes 16, and and so on and so forth. And one of the things I've been trying to teach my children specifically is it's okay not to have a concrete level of what you like direction, especially you're young, you're 20 plus years old or 25 or whatever, because it's kind of the range. It's okay not to know everything, like exactly where you're headed. I feel like it's okay to be asking the questions, and many of these questions you've asked, I mean, during the show, which is, what lights you up? What is your natural born skill set? What do you yearn for? Like, that kind of thing. What are some other questions that can bring more clarity and direction when it comes to aspiring for more, aspiring for higher?
Well, you brought it up. What lights you up? I say what makes your heart sing. As you said, knowing what your skill set is, knowing what your education or experiences have prepared you to do, that helps. Because if you have a background in engineering or law or accounting, well, that can make a difference. And even though I never practiced law, even though I went to law school, being a talent representative, everything is contractual. So that helped me be a more effective talent representative because I was an attorney. So think about the kinds of things that you're good at, that you love to do. For example, I was about to take a corporate law firm job when I got out of law school at an entertainment law firm. And just before I took it, I realized that the biggest entertainment client of this major firm was the William Morris Agency, which at that time was the most well-respected and biggest talent agency in the world. And I remembered that my dad's best friend growing up in Brooklyn was now the president of William Morris. And so I went to see my dad and said, Dad, can you arrange for me to meet with Mr. Weisbord, whose nickname was Cookie? And would you arrange for me to meet with Cookie? And he said, sure. And I decided to fly out from New York City, where I was from, to the Beverly Hills area where William Morris had its office. And Sam and I walked around Beverly Hills after dinner for a few hours. And I told him that I loved marketing, that I had a tennis instruction business, a group tennis instruction business and tennis camps, which put me through law school and was very, very successful. And I told him how much I loved marketing. I told him that I loved contract law. And I told him that I very much enjoyed the choreography of things. And at the end of our meeting, he said, I don't want you working for a law firm. I want you to work for us. I will, starting as a business affairs attorney, and we'll teach you everything. I'll start to put together a path for you to become a talent agent. It was something I never thought of. But when they told me that they had represented the Beatles and Elvis and were representing Al Pacino and Dustin Hoffman and all of these huge people, I just thought, how cool is that to be involved with such creative and interesting people and putting together television shows and legitimate theater productions and movies. Sounded very fun. So I wound up working for the William Morris Agency for less than half of what the law firm offered me because it sounded so much fun, but it met the criteria of my skill set that I love being a marketer, and you have to market, your clients to various producers. I loved being somebody like choreographing things, like choreographing careers. And again, I love seeing what can be in people. And I love being an entrepreneur and all of that. It just hit on all cylinders. So I wound up making a dramatic career change. I never thought about being a talent agent until that dinner. But it just hit, and it was the right decision. I have loved what I've done every day of my career since then. As they say, if you love what you do, you never work a day in your life.
Absolutely.
So I think it's really important to know what makes you not only your heart sing, but what you're great at.
Yeah. Well, I also think you're going to discover that a little bit along the way. And it sounds like we both had a situation where one of our mentors recognized something kind of inside of us. How important have relationships played into you aspiring for higher?
I think mentors are so important, but it's not only a mentor, Stephen, that is, somebody that works with you or takes an interest in you, but I have modeled my behavior after people who did things wonderfully well. As a tennis player, you say, oh my God, that person hits an amazing backhand. I'm going to try to emulate that. Or that person poaches incredibly well at net because they stand a certain way. One of the ways I became a really great poacher in doubles is because I always thought when the ball went by me in playing doubles, I looked back and to see where my partner was. But then I lost track of the people in front of me. I once saw a great poacher never look back. The ball goes by. He kept his eye on his opponent, so he knew where they were, so he could then, on the next shot, move to poach.
Yeah.
So I have had so many unintended mentors in my life, people who I tried to emulate because they did things so well, or people who I didn't want to emulate because I thought they did things so poorly and I didn't want to make the same mistakes. But to specifically answer your questions, I think mentors can be great if they truly have your best interests at heart, if they connect with you, and they have valuable things to share.
Yeah, no, it's so good. Well, let's do this. When it comes to aspiring higher, everybody should pick it up and pick up a copy for themselves. Who is the book perfect for? Like, who is the book perfect for?
Well, the book, Stephen, was written for just about everybody. I'm getting a lot of high schools that are now interested in it, and colleges, because it's all about the power of your life choice. Because our lives are a reflection of the good and bad choices that we've made. I always sort of analogize choices to train tracks. The tracks, take trains to where they go. Our lives are a direct reflection of the choices that we've made. And sure, there are things that we can't control, but we can control our choices, our emotions, how we act, and all of that. And our choices are key to bringing us happiness, to helping us be fulfilled, to helping us achieve our dreams. Our choices are key.
Yeah, no, it's good. It's so good.
So it's all about how to make the best life choices you can.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I've enjoyed our conversation for sure. I know we're basically out of time and the internet's giving us fits today, but I'm curious, where can everybody pick up the book, learn more about what you're doing and how to work?
Sure. Okay, here's a copy of the book. So just so everybody knows, it's Aspire Higher.
Aspire Higher, yeah.
And you can get it at my website, positivelifechoicepsychology.com or barnesandnoble.com, amazon.com, Walmart, target.com, anywhere fine books are sold.
All right, my friend. Well, dude, I've had a blast. I can't wait to have you on again. Thank you for spending so much time with me and sharing your wisdom and heart with me today.
Stephen, it's been a pleasure. Thanks so much. And I love the chat.
All right. Take care, my friend. See ya.
Okay. Bye.
I hope you liked that video. And if you did, make sure you check out this next video right here.
It really matters who you create a bond with, the circle that you're in. It really matters. I am a poster child for being homeless, high school dropout, and doing what I needed to do to improve myself to get to this point. I know what's been missing. I see what you own. Like, I see why you can't break through. You owe you.